I am part of the Comp Music group representing the work on Hindustani music that we are doing at IIT Bombay. And I think my talk comes in the perfect backdrop where we've seen this really wonderful system that's been developed already at MTG, which provides all this framework and actually is a great incentive for us to continue to work on algorithms and do more audio content based, develop more audio content based methods that actually can very smoothly fit into this framework. My goal here is going to be to just give some of the motivation for the problems we've chosen. And of course, these are everybody's goals, not just ours, but I'll just speak about them in the context of Hindustani music. So what would we really like to achieve? So the algorithms and the kind of work we are doing, what we'd like to really see within the Dunya framework, for instance, is to be able to automatically tag. For instance, now the information is obtained from the text that has been manually entered or to some extent obtained automatically from text resources on the web. But we are focused on audio content analysis, which could be very a big complementary system to the text-based information extraction. So for instance, it would be nice if it could automatically tag audio by various musically relevant descriptions such as genre, style, raga, tala, and so on. It would be really nice to create some sort of a navigation layer, for what we saw now in Dunya, the whole audio comes up, and of course it's not, you have a visual representation, but you still can't get to a particular part. And as we know, Indian music is highly structured, so we have all these different sections, and perhaps we could use some method of, detecting and identifying different sections. And also, as we saw from the earlier talks, maybe do a more fine search perhaps for musically relevant objects such as motifs, melodic and rhythmic motifs. And it would be nice if the tools we built were actually used by the community. For instance, I think it's a pretty fascinating exercise to actually watch the visual depiction of the melody and so on. But these could be used actually for very serious musicology research. And especially in the context of Indian music, where written scores are not very representative of performance, and maybe theories could actually be validated, tested, extended by studying performances. And performances means audio, so you do require tools to work on audio. Now, what's common to all this is that we need a computable representation of music. That's what we call features. And we need some sort of similarity. Right now, there was a small debate about what is similar and not. So that's a very big question. We might want to call something similar because of something we can easily compute, but that's not the criterion. You really should be able to model what is considered musically similar by listeners, performers, and so on. So all of these are some rather lofty goals. Okay, so why do we need this? I don't think I need to tell this audience that, but if you look at a typical CD, and this is actually a very nice CD cover, it has a lot of information compared to what you might typically find. It tells you this is the main artist. Of course, there were other artists, but no mention is made of them. In the sense, there were accompanists also in this CD, but there's no mention of them, or even what the accompanying instruments were. But of course, if you know about Hindustani music, you will assume that it was tanpura and tabla and perhaps harmonium. Then it tells you it has 2 ragas performed. Given any one raga is being, the raga name of course is here, Deshkar. It tells you that the bandish or the composition being performed is Piya Jag. It tells you the tala. And the raga itself has 2 components essentially. It has a chota khyal, a bada khyal and a chota khyal, the slow and the fast khyals. Each of them is characterized by their corresponding composition, of which the mukhra or the chorus or the main phrase is mentioned over here. So it tells you the tala and it also tells you the lay or the tempo. Okay, so that's all. It doesn't tell you where anything begins or ends. So if you want to find this and you really want to listen to this, you really don't have a choice but to keep scanning the CD. Okay, so when we talk about how to navigate better using the technologies that we develop, we'd like to have all the timings come up. That this is where the Madhyalaya section starts, ends, the Drut starts over here, the second raga starts here, and so on. Okay, and in order to do that, of course, from the audio we need to understand how each of these sections, the musical characteristics of these sections, how they relate to the underlying audio characteristics. Okay? So which is why I just quickly go through some kind of comparison between audio features and the high-level music features. So what are the kind of descriptions we are typically interested in? We'd like to know the artist, accompanist, the genre, subgenre perhaps, the concert structure, as I said, with all these different components, and of course the major musical descriptors of each of those sections. So the question is, can we extract these descriptions by content analysis, perhaps also complement it with contextual semantic information. Okay, so here actually my presentation has almost 3 minutes of music, so I suppose that will make it reasonably. So this is one. Okay. So that was what I'm trying to show you is 3 different sections of this Bada Khyal section of that audio. Okay. So these 3 sections are different predominantly in the fact they are of course the same raga, but they are at different speeds. Okay. So speed is the word that we typically use in this context. So what you heard sounded slow. Okay, and finally something from the Tan section. So these are all from the Madhyalaya Bandish that was on the CD. Okay. Okay, so all of these are labeled actually Madhyalaya on the CD, but we know that these are different singing styles, and we typically associate the Tan with a fast singing style. So if we were to talk about these in terms of the major dimensions of melody and rhythm, we might say that this is faster and therefore there is a rhythmic difference in this part of the audio compared to the rest, and perhaps we could exploit that in order to separate these sections. Okay. Now it turns out that like Ajay mentioned in his talk, the major cue to rhythmic structure actually is usually provided by the percussion instrument. So here the tabla in fact has a cycle length that doesn't change very much. The the 16-bit cycle matras get slightly slower as we proceed from here to here. Okay. So if we had something that would capture the rhythmic structure, we would expect to see that there is an increase in speed to this extent going along the audio. Okay. On the other hand, if you go to a part between 2 different lay, that is the Madhya lay and the Drut lay, then you can see, I only play the Drut because I just played the Madhya lay earlier. Okay, so this in fact is indeed the cycle lengths also have reduced and the matras have come closer. So the pulse, the rate of pulse has actually gone up here. So this may be a case where we could distinguish these sections, based on whatever analysis we could do of the rhythmic content as provided by the percussion. Okay. So now if we were to look at this, this is the structure, this is something that captures basically the rhythmic content, similar to what Ajay showed, where we see, for instance, that if we take the spacing between lines as indicating the speed, the spacing is more at the lower ends and it increases as you go along, which is pretty much what we noticed. So we are actually able to capture something about the so-called speed of the sections by this computable representation. And we see an abrupt boundary at this point where it goes from the Madhya lay to the Drut. Okay. So it is in principle possible if you have this very strong percussion accompaniment in the audio to derive features that can give you some sort of hints to section boundaries and the nature of sections. So here's another example where we don't have percussion, but it's still strongly rhythmic music, and it would be really very interesting also to work on this. So this is actually a Drupad concert with the alap, jod and jhala. The percussion is not in the picture yet, it comes at a later point in the concert. So let's just hear a clip of it. The last one, yeah, just a little bit. Okay, so I'll just switch to the next one. Oh, this has to be switched. Where is the switch gone? Oh, huh? It's okay? Okay, so I suppose you noticed how rhythmic the singing was in the jod and jhala compared to the alap, and the jhala section was actually much faster than the jod. Okay, I think this is probably similar to some of the ragam tanam in Carnatic music where the percussion is not there yet, but the rhythmic structure is clearly different. So now this is actually a fairly challenging case because you don't have the percussion in order to do the kind of computations we have been doing. As a matter of fact, if you do the similar kind of representation, the rhythmogram you can see is completely washed out simply because the onsets or the changes of events are really not so strong anymore. Okay? So this is a problem for further research where we could see how to characterize those vocal onsets and capture something that is at least as rhythmic, probably or definitely as rhythmic as concert sections which have percussion. Okay, now if you go along that CD, you see at a point the raga changes and then there's another whole setup in a different raga. So what's the difference when the raga changes? We see here it's not the rhythmic structure but now it's a melodic change, right? So now we need to characterize the melody. We already heard some of the rag Deshkar, I'll just play the other raga. Okay, so now if we have to label these sections as belonging to two different musical dimensions or being two different components of the concert, we obviously need recourse to the melody. The speed is the same, as we can see, the tala markings, you can see the tabla strokes here, which are not that different. But here is the melody line, and it is this from the melody that we would have to actually characterize this as different ragas, right? So all the same problems that we discussed earlier. So what do we do? If you did a histogram and looked for the notes, then you would be able to label the notes like this. Perhaps this might tell you that this was Deshkar and this is Gaud Sarang based on the notes. But that really might not be enough because if we look at this closely, for instance, there are very similar notes being used. So perhaps we look at melodic shapes, the gamaka or the sequences of notes and the gestures more than the notes as such. So you've looked at pitch histograms, so I won't show you this anymore. So the concept of melodic motif or the melodic shape is to find repetitive shapes really. So even if you don't do an annotation to the note level, which actually would in the first place be a very difficult thing to do, we could still look for continuous shapes and look for recurrence of continuous shapes in terms of matching of the continuous contour. And this is a case where, for instance, an almost identical looking melodic shape appears at a later point. This happens to be in the context of the mukhda of a Hindustani bandish. And if we went along, in fact, you would see strikingly similar occurrences as you went along. Okay? So there is a certain pitch similarity, but there is also a certain amount of variation, and actually it is a challenging problem, and perhaps the suggestions made previously about using additional dimensions such as timbre and loudness dynamics may actually make this problem easier. So we could actually go into an audio and find all these mukhda, and in the case of the Hindustani concert, the mukhda would actually indicate beginnings and ends of the avartan or the cycle. So it would be a fairly significant event to find that would help us put anchors in the audio and take us to a little more detailed annotation. Okay, so another interesting thing that they said from the studies point of view is, should we take all these mukras and line them up, okay? In order to see, are they really so similar to each other, and if they are, how similar are they, so that we could come up with a computable measure of similarity. So here we extracted all the mukras in sequence of their occurrence, and you can say at the first look, of course, they are highly similar, but on the other hand, you can see that their durations are all a little different. And there's nothing very systematic about the duration. It's not that as the tempo increases, the durations are getting shorter. As a matter of fact, that there's a pretty random distribution of duration versus tempo. And also we see that when the duration does change, for instance, if you look at this instance, which is very short, versus the first instance, which is very long, the duration changes seem to be more absorbed by the steady notes and not so much by the moving portions. Okay, so these are some kinds of things, and this is, if you talk to a musician, in fact, they tell you how about, you know, maintaining the speed of a glide is important, because it doesn't sound quite like that particular variation if you don't do it at that speed. But on the other hand, steady notes can actually be compressed and expanded as required. So rhythmic changes to the melodic, in the melodic motif, are more in the steady note portions and the glides. So this was just an example of a musicological study that becomes possible because we are able to go in there, extract pitch, extract motifs, and so on. Same thing within concert, variability of the motif. So you can see this is the same motif in same absolute time scale, but we look at the differences and you see what we said about the glide being relatively unchanged, whereas the steady note portions being elongated and compressed, you know, with from instance to instance. Another study we did was to see that the catchphrases or the important phrases of a raga are relatively invariant, as we saw here. There's a striking repetitiveness about this. But if you look at any sequence of notes that is not a catchphrase, just a fixed sequence of notes, it exhibits much more variability from instance to instance in an artist's performance than does a catchphrase. So there's something really very special about a pakkad, a catchphrase or a characteristic phrase of the raga. Okay, so this basically shows the distances between phrases of the same type in different concerts, and we see that all the Alaya Bilawal concerts where this dhani dhapa that is used here is a catchphrase, they have very narrowly spread distributions, whereas if you take another raga where the particular sequence of notes does not appear as a pakkad, is not meant to be a characteristic phrase, there is much more dispersion. Okay, so it just validates this thing that there is much more flexibility in rendering a phrase unless it is a raga characteristic phrase. Okay, as I said, I'm just giving you an overview of the work we are doing at IIT Bombay. We are also contributing to the ontology, something that Gopal already mentioned, and you know Joe will be talking about in his talk, where we are wanting to do this parallel, you know, analysis of text and other corpora in order to augment the content analysis work. And of course, there are multiple challenges in this because of the type of informal text sources that are being used. And an example of where we could actually combine content-based analysis with semantic information extracted from text sources would be something like this. Okay, fine. So that was just a very broad overview of the talks that are going to come next from the IIT Bombay team. So the point is that melody and rhythm are indeed high-level attributes that can be derived. The low-level acoustic processing is that of pitch, which we already saw, and onsets, right? The onsets, the tabla strokes were particularly easy to detect, and that gave us the rhythmic structure. The melody and the melodic structure comes from the pitch extract. So pitch and onsets are very important, and we've seen in Dunya that part of it is already possible. Those are challenging problems, but I would say quite a bit of headway has already been made. Melody and rhythm representations that are musicologically informed can be useful in the description. We need to understand, you know, what to extract, and that has to be musically relevant. And of course, knowledge of any type is always helpful, but computational modeling or finding engineering models to represent knowledge is a challenge. Okay, so the talks that are coming up next are on melodic motif, the rhythmic structure, segmentation work, and about ontology of Indian music. And finally, we have another application of melody where we are going to look at the melodic shapes help us to actually separate genres and styles. So these are the remaining talks. Yeah, thank you for your attention.